comes when certainty is no longer required. Let that sentence be the doorway into this final day, not as a conclusion, not as a technique, but as a quiet permission you may not have known you were allowed to give yourself. Much of mental strain comes from the belief that everything must be understood, resolved, explained, decided. The mind has learned to equate certainty with safety. If I can figure this out, then I can relax. If I can know what will happen, then I can feel at ease. Yet experience shows something different. The more the mind demands certainty, the more anxious it becomes. Anxiety-driven problem solving does not end uncertainty. It amplifies it. The mind keeps scanning for the missing piece, the final answer, the guarantee that does not exist. This is not because you are doing it wrong. It is because certainty was never meant to be permanent. Life is fluid. Information changes. Circumstances evolve. Trying to pin everything down mentally creates tension because the target keeps moving. Acceptance-based cognitive recovery begins when you recognize that not knowing is not a problem to be solved, but a condition to be lived with skillfully. Letting go of the need to figure everything out does not mean giving up on thinking. It means releasing the belief that thinking must always reach closure. The mind is excellent at exploration, reflection, creativity. It struggles when asked to deliver absolute certainty about an uncertain world. As you listen now, you may notice thoughts attempting to make sense of this, to evaluate it, to see how it applies to your life. That is natural. You are not asked to stop that. You are invited to notice when thinking shifts from useful to compulsive. Useful thinking feels spacious. It can pause. Compulsive thinking feels urgent. It demands resolution now. That urgency is anxiety speaking through thought. Anxiety believes that delay equals danger. Acceptance interrupts this belief gently. It says, "This can remain unresolved for now." That statement alone can feel unsettling at first. The mind may protest. It may say, "If I stop figuring this out, something bad will happen." That protest deserves compassion, not obedience. The mind learned this strategy because at some point, anticipation and analysis felt protective. Now, that same strategy creates exhaustion. Acceptance-based recovery is not resignation. It is recalibration. It is choosing to place effort where it actually helps and releasing it where it does not. Right now, you can notice the subtle effort of holding questions open in a tense way. The mental leaning forward, the background pressure to conclude. See if you can allow that effort to soften slightly, not by answering the questions, but by letting them exist without pursuit. Questions do not require constant engagement. They can rest. You may feel a sense of emptiness or unease when you stop trying to resolve everything. That feeling is not a sign of failure. It is the nervous system adjusting to reduced control. Control has been used as a substitute for trust. When control loosens, trust has room to grow. Trust in your ability to respond when needed. Trust in time. Trust in the fact that clarity often arrives after letting go, not before. Many insights come when the mind is relaxed, not when it is straining. You have likely experienced this before, solutions appearing in the shower, on a walk, while doing something unrelated. is acceptance at work. The mind stops forcing and allows integration. Today is about making that state more accessible. You are not training yourself to avoid thinking. You are training yourself to stop overusing thinking as an anxiety regulator. Anxiety-driven problem-solving feels productive, but rarely produces peace. Acceptance produces peace first, and clarity follows. This sequence is important. Peace does not come after certainty. Certainty often comes after peace. When the mind is calm, it sees more accurately. When it is anxious, it narrows and fixates. Letting go of the need to figure everything out widens perception. You begin to notice what is actually required now, rather than what might be required someday. Most things do not need to be decided immediately. Most questions do not need immediate answers. Recognizing this reduces mental load dramatically. You may notice the body responding as this idea settles. Perhaps the chest softens. Perhaps the breath deepens without instruction. The body often releases before the mind fully understands. Acceptance is felt as much as it is thought. You do not need to convince yourself to accept. You allow acceptance by not resisting uncertainty. Resistance is effortful. Allowing is not. As you allow uncertainty to exist, you may discover that it is less threatening than imagined. It is simply open space. Space that can hold multiple possibilities without demanding resolution. This openness is where flexibility lies. When you no longer need certainty, you become more adaptable. You can respond to what arises rather than preemptively solving imagined futures. This reduces anxiety because anxiety feeds on imagined futures. Acceptance anchors you in the present, where most of those futures do not exist. You may notice the mind trying to turn acceptance into a rule, something to do perfectly. That is another attempt to regain control. You can smile at that impulse. Even acceptance does not need to be perfected. It unfolds naturally when pressure decreases. Letting go happens in layers. You may release one question and hold onto another. That is fine. Recovery is not all or nothing. Each release frees energy. That energy returns as clarity, creativity, and emotional balance. You may find that some problems genuinely require action. Acceptance does not prevent action. It improves it. When action is needed, it becomes obvious and focused, rather than frantic. When action is not needed, acceptance prevents unnecessary mental labor. This discernment is the gift of letting go. You stop wasting energy on what cannot be solved now. You save it for what can. As this session continues, you may notice moments of mental quiet mixed with moments of thought. Both are welcome. Quiet does not mean emptiness. It means non-demand. Thought does not mean failure. It means the mind is functioning. The difference now is that thought no longer has to conclude everything. It can explore and then rest. You are teaching the mind that rest is allowed even without answers. This is a profound shift. Over time, anxiety lessens because the mind learns it does not need to be on constant alert. Life becomes something you participate in, not something you must mentally control. Acceptance-based cognitive recovery restores balance by aligning effort with reality. Reality is uncertain. The mind becomes healthier when it stops fighting that fact. As you carry this understanding forward, you may notice moments where you catch yourself trying to figure everything out. In those moments, you can gently remind yourself that clarity comes when certainty is no longer required. You do not need to repeat it like a mantra. Just remembering it is enough. Each time you choose to pause instead of solve, to allow instead of force, you reinforce this new pattern. Over time, it becomes natural. The mind becomes quieter not because questions disappear, but because they are no longer chased. Peace becomes more frequent not because life is predictable, but because you are no longer demanding it to be. This is the end of the week, but not the end of the practice. These principles integrate gradually, quietly. There is nothing to complete, nothing to achieve. You have already done what was needed by listening, by noticing, by allowing. Letting go of the need to figure everything out is not a one-time act. It is an ongoing permission. And each time you give it, you return to clarity, not through certainty, but through trust.